Hello everybody and welcome to the TaxWorks 2012 webinar. Today we're going to go over some of the new features that are in TaxWorks. We're also going to show you how to navigate the TaxWorks 2012 program. Many of you are probably pretty used to the old 2011 program and the icons that are along the top. So this webinar is to kind of familiarize yourself with the 2012 TaxWorks software so you can find where those icons are. Now, just to kind of give you an idea, this is what TaxWorks 2011, or last year's program, looked like. This, I'm sure, is very familiar to all of you. We've got the forms pane here. We've got the input pane, the output pane, and the help pane, and all of the icons along the top. So this is something you've all become familiar with. When we built the 2011 program, we wanted to keep kind of the 5-pane design. So what we've got with TaxWorks 2012, if I bring this up and head over into one of the returns, you see that we've got that 5-pane design. We've got the forms pane, we've got the input pane, the output pane, and then this is a diagnostics pane, which is new, and then you've got the summary pane over here. And one of the first things you notice when you open up the program is that there are no buttons along the top. So where's the federal button, the state button? How do I get to the assets button to enter, to put my assets in so I can do depreciation and that kind of thing? Where did all this go? The detail button, it's all gone. We're going to talk about that, and we're also going to talk about how the 2000 program works. First thing I want to do is head over to the home screen, because when you first load the program, this is the first thing you're going to see. And I know quite a surprise when you go in, holy cow, what happened? Where's my client selection screen with all of my clients? This is the first thing that you see when you get into the program. So let me kind of explain what this is. This is your practice at a glance. So we wanted to put everything in here so you can see what's going on in your practice during the day and any time, really. This area right here, where my cursor is the eFile Center dashboard. This is going to let you know how many returns you have ready to e-file, how many are at the filing center, at the IRS, at the state. These two here have to do with bank products. If you do bank products, it will tell you how many bank products are there, and if you have any checks that you need to write. You also have rejects. If there are any rejects, there's that button there so you can go to them and fix them, but it'll also show in your to-do pane. This to-do pane is a work in progress. It has to do with labels, which many of you knew as folders in the old system. We'll go over this in a later date. You don't need to worry about this right now. Right now, today I'm just going to show you how to navigate in the program so that you can get a client up and going and get everything you need to help that client and get them out the door. This is your Recents tab. So these are all the returns that I have been in recently. Jimmy Fairchild, Alex. You'll notice to the right it will say when. It has a date on when I got into the return. Today's it has a date on what time I got into the return. So these are the most recent returns starting with the top. Over here, this is the news pane. This is where you're going to get your news and alerts. We've already been sending news and alerts out. This one came out on January 22nd. Program update, view alerts in eFile Center to read this week's program update. As we send out updates, we're going to keep you posted on what's coming in those updates, what's to come. What you can expect to see in those updates will be posted as alerts, and you'll see it in the eFile Center as well. So that's the news, everything going on in the news. You no longer have, in the old program, used to be when you went in, there's the alerts if you want to see them, but you had to go out of the program. It took you to the eFile Center, and you went to the alerts. This one, in this new program, the alerts are in the program itself. So that's a quick glance of the home screen and what it entails. Now, I did want to point out this bar up here. If you have a client that comes into your office, they're not on the Recents tabs, you haven't opened their return yet, normally they're in the client selection screen that pulls up in your program, and you can just click on their name and pull them up. You don't see the client selection screen here. The closest thing we have to the client selection screen is this Clients tab over here, and we're going to get into that in a minute. But I wanted to point out this. This is the best search tool we've had in the program in a long time. If you start typing your client's name, you'll notice returns with ALE start coming up. So you type in their name, you just click on their name, it opens up the 5-pane area that we were just in, and you can start on their return. So that's the quickest way to get to a client when they come into your office. Type in their name and open it up. You don't have to go search in a long list to find their name. If you have a new client, one that has never been in before, you click on this tab to start the client. You'll notice I've got tax year in there, 2012, the system. In the 2011, you remember when you had the Clients tab open, it had a bunch of tabs along the top that had 1040, 1041, and all your returns were under that. This one, just pick which system you want. If we want to do an 1120, the pertinent information comes up to do an 1120. Partnership return, the same thing. You put the partner names in. Just the information you need will come up. Once you fill this out and hit OK, it opens up that client's return into the 5-pane view, and you can start the return. It's that 5-pane view that you're normally seeing. So that's how you would start a new client, and over here is how you would look up an existing client, somebody who's already in your office. Now I want to go to what's going to look probably the closest to what you've got, and that is the Clients tab. The Clients tab is a list of all of my clients, and you'll notice over here a lot of people have told me what happened to the folders. We have folders like we had before in the program. Now, instead of a folder, it's a label. All of these returns were in my samples folder. I had a samples folder. When it imported my clients, it brought over the folder as a label. So you see all the labels. Right now, the programmers, their focus right now is speed and stability of the product, making it faster, and we've heard from many of you, many of the suggestions and things that we need into the program. They're working on those things. But one of the things that's on the list as well is to clean up this area and make the labels searchable. So when you click on this labels, it will be like in Excel where you can, okay, I want to pull up just my samples labels, or I want to pull up just my family returns. My family could have been another folder, so I want to see just my family. Right now, it's just in a long list, as you see here in the label, but they're working on getting that in the program. Now, once again, we do have this search tool over here. So if you're searching for a client and you want to bring them up, you can do by first name or last name. This one I just type in Danny. I got 3 returns in here for Danny that I can open up. And that search works the same way in the client selection. As you start to type in the name, now it's going to bring up and show me, you know, all the A's or all the B's or all the ANs, Anderson, anything associated with ANs. I got Danny in there. I got Anderson Todd. So it really narrows it down when you start to use your search tool. That is going to be the easiest way for you to get into the program, to get into a tax return. Now you'll notice over here there's a showing button. This is going to show me my tabs. Remember I said the 2011 had the tabs across the top. This one has the tabs right here. So if I want to see just my 1065, I click on that. It shows me 1065. What if I want to see my 1040? It shows me all my 1040. Right here is my tax year. Now, you'll notice in the 2012 program, you're able to have multiple years in the return. So these are the ones that I formatted over to 2012. Now each client, when you first import your clients, you're going to import 2011 TaxWorks in a 2011 tab for the 2012 program. So all your clients will come over, their 2011 returns will come over, and then every time they come into your office, you'll need to perform them one by one. Now let me show you what I mean by that. So this is showing me everything I have in tax year 2011. when I set up my program and I imported my clients, it imported them into tax year 2011. When I open up Todd Anderson return, his return, you'll notice the tab along there. I already had his return open. I had gone in it before we started this webinar. So when I click on Todd Anderson, here's his return for 2012. I have a 2012 return here, and I have 2011 here. When I first imported my client, the only thing that came up for Todd Anderson was his 2011 return, which is this tab here. And then it gives you this note that says this is only for display purposes only. So this is to show you that you're able to bring up multiple years in the same program. Now, I brought up Robert Childs. I opened his return as well because I haven't performed his yet. Todd Anderson, his came up in 2011. This tab showed up, and I clicked 2012, and it brought all his 2011 over to 2012 info. Robert Childs, I'm not ready to bring him over yet because he hasn't come into my office yet, so I don't want him in my management reports. So I just have his 2011 open. When he comes into my office, I'm going to click on this 2012 Proforma, and it will bring all his information from 2011 over to 2012, and then I'll be able to start working on his return. So instead of bringing all the clients over at one time, it brings all the 2011 clients in, and then when they come into your office, you click this tab right here to Proforma your clients into 2012. And that's how the 2012 program works. You can also have multiple clients open at one time. Now, just a note, the multiple clients feature is only available in certain packages. So to be able to open up multiple clients at one time, you either have to be on the gold or platinum package. If you're interested in any of those packages, you can call our sales team at 800-230-2322, and they can explain the differences to you and help you out that way. There's a way to update that information. So that's how the Proforma works, and that's how you have multiple clients. You notice you have multiple years. This will only go forward, so we're not going to have 2009 and 2010 in this program, but you'll have 12. Next year you have 13. The year after you have 14. So it's moving forward. So you could potentially have 10 years down the road in one program. Multiple years is also available in the gold and platinum packages. Same kind of thing. Now, when you get this far, kind of explain the returns a little bit. I've had a big question about organizers. Believe it or not, you can still do organizers. So I'd like to show you real quick, and I still get questions on organizers, so I just want to show you real quick how to do those organizers. You click on Admin up here. Once you click on Admin, it opens a screen. This tab appears when you click on Admin, and it will automatically open this screen. If you have these tabs across the top, if you go to Deliverables under the Admin there, and you click on Organizers. Now, a quick note on organizers, when you come into this area, the only thing you're doing here is you're setting up how you want your organizers to print. You're not actually going to print them from this screen. These are just your settings. So I want a simple organizer. You can do a simple, expanded, or both. I want to do a simple. The slip sheets are still coming. Cover letter, you can do without or with an appointment. Questionnaire, and then the privacy notice. CPA, enrolled agent, other, none. Just mark what you are there. And now, once you get your options selected, how do I want to deliver this to my client? Do I want to email it? Do I want to print it? Do I want to save it? Or do I want to do all three? Right now, I recommend just doing one. Many people will email them or print them, but it will take up a lot less memory in the program if you do just one, and you'll find a lot more success that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to print the email, and I want one copy, and I don't want a duplex. I just want it to print straight papers. I want 5 papers instead of 3. On the email, I want to go over these options real quick. You can CC it to yourself. You don't have to worry about the to field. You don't need anything in the to field. Just leave that blank. You can CC it to yourself. You can change the text in here if you want to change the body of the email, and it will save it as you change it. And then if there is no email, it's going to pull from, it's eventually going to pull from the client card, which I'm going to show you here in a minute. Right now it pulls from the 2011 tax return. So that is how email works. So if I check email, that's how that works. And then if no email, do you want me to print it, save, or skip it? I have it prompt me. If there's no email, I want it to prompt me to put an email in there. So that's why I've done that option. Or you can save it to your computer. And we found that Microsoft Outlook works the best with the program. If you're not able to get your email set up and you're in something other than Microsoft Outlook, say Hotmail or Yahoo or something like that, you can save it to your desktop or save it to a folder and then open up your email and attach. Then you can attach the organizer that way. And then you also have the option to save the organizer with a password if you want it password protected just for security purposes. And you can browse and put it anywhere you want on your computer. So it allows you to save it wherever you want. And that is how you do the settings for organizers. If you want to do, this is not where you print them. Now I'll show you how to print them in a minute, but I want to show you how to do a blank organizer. If any of you are interested in doing blank organizers, you just check the fields that you want to print. Like I want to print W2, I want to print this. This you can print from this screen. I put print, and there's the button there. If I put save, it's going to print and save. It's all under one button. If I put email, it's going to print, save, and email a blank organizer to me. Right? But I'm just going to put print. So this is how you do blank organizers. Now let me go back to the 1040. I have all my settings ready to go. Now how do I print them, or how do I send them to my client once I have all my settings? By the way, this is the override. The purpose of this, I recommend just leaving this at default unless you want to send all your clients a Schedule A, even the clients who don't need or who don't use the Schedule A, but I want to include it with everybody, so I'm going to include it. Or maybe I have clients who get a Schedule A, but I don't want them to get it. I don't want any of my Schedule A's in the organizer. Then I'm going to exclude it. If I leave it blank, then if the client has a Schedule A, it will print. It will print the Schedule A. If it doesn't, it won't print it. So the program's intuitive. You can really leave these blank unless you want to include. That's what these overrides are for. If you go in and include all of these, it may cause some problems with memory. So I would just leave it the way it is. That's kind of an overview. Now let's send this to one of my clients. In order to send it, you have to go back to the Clients tab. When I hit Clients, all my clients will populate. Just take a second here and they'll pop up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send one to Todd Anderson. I want to make sure I'm on the 2011 year. I want to make sure I'm in the 1040 system because it's a 1040 organizer. I'm going to check that I want to send it to him, and then I'm going to go up into this little toolbox. On this toolbox, at the very bottom, there's the option to send organizers. And when I click on Send Organizers, it's going to pop up a box. This box is a batch processing log. You can review and edit emails if you would like to do that, but I'm just printing it. And so I'm just going to hit Start Process, and I'm going to print it. When you hit Start Process and it says Processing Started, in just a little bit, you'll start hearing it out on the printer. So I just heard it out on the printer. So now it's printing my organizer, getting everything set up. And then I can go out to my printer and I can collect that. Another thing it's doing right here, you'll notice it is pulling up Adobe, so I can preview it in Adobe if I wanted to do that. It's an Adobe Reader, but I chose I don't want to preview because it just takes up a lot of space when you preview it. So it's actually printed. I heard it print, and then once it's done, you can just go ahead and close out of it. So if you want to do one, you can do one, or you can do up to 10 at a time. We have an update coming out here that's going to let you do even more than that at a time. So this one, that's how you print organizers and get organizers out the door. A couple of things that I want to show you when you set up in admin it will help tremendously, I believe. Once you open admin for the first time over here, then it shows up as a tab. Oh, before I forget, remember how I mentioned in the printer settings how I opted not to get the print preview with Adobe? You got to uncheck that box so that doesn't show up. If that print preview won't show up, then it will take up a lot less space when you're printing organizers. So that's just a little tip on printing organizers. Notice the difference between the admin tab and this little button right here is this is the user settings. Anything you do in the user settings will only affect your computer. Anything you do in the admin settings will affect everybody's computer. So that's something to remember between admin and user settings when you have those. Now I'm going to go ahead and X out of the user settings. I don't need that. That's an easy way to close it, by the way. I'm going to jump over here to the admin settings because the settings I want to do now have to do with setting things up. Now over in the Office Setup tab, you have deliverables over here. Deliverables, let me show you while I'm here real quick. This delivery button, any of you who are used to printing sets, which is most of you I'm sure, setting up your printer sets and your defaults, this is where you do it. I have a government paper filing, I have my signature set, and I have my preparer set, and I can do a custom set. If I want to do a custom set. Notice the little down arrow right there, correspondence. This is everything I want to include when I print the return. I want to include all of those. So this is how you set up your distribution sets and your deliverables. Invoice settings. This is just the look. You can set up the look. You have your options over here, so you can do labels, font, what kind of font you want, how big you want your font to be. Do you want borders, no borders? How do you want your invoice to look? Okay, that's what that is. That's more about the look and the deliverable options. Let me show you where to go to set up your actual invoice. Many of you, just a heads up, the invoice was not converted from the 2011 program, so everybody will have to go in and put in the amounts on their invoice. And that's done in admin, Office Setup, and Invoice. So what you do, say I do a form 1040. For a form 1040, I want to charge $125 for that form. Okay, so you can just go down here and mark how much you want each form to be, and it will automatically save it. We did have a feature in the old program for per item that's not available as of yet, but will be available. The new price adjustment, you can stick new price adjustments in, and then to stick those in, you can say, like, let's say I want to do some shoebox returns. Somebody just comes into my office and they throw a shoebox on my tail. I'm going to charge them 5% more because it takes me time to go through that shoebox and look at everything. So when I hit done, there's my shoebox return. I'm going to charge that person a little more than I do somebody else who's already organized. So there's the ability to do that in the program as well. And then you'll be able to set that up in invoice options on the forms pane. Invoice options is something they're still working on right now. So you can set up shoebox returns. In the future, you'll be able to actually use it. Right now, that's a work in progress. I'm going to delete that. The biggest thing to remember, what you want to do is get your standard prices in for all of your forms and people in the office. So that's how you do invoice pricing. I want to go over user and prepares. The big things I'm going over here, user prepares, invoice, and then we'll take a look at the updates. And we'll glance at labels real quick. For the prepares, I had somebody call and ask me, he said, I'm the only one. There's only one person who can log into the computer, the administrator. The prepares did not carry over from 2011, and some of you may have gotten that little bing, the alert saying that the prepares didn't come over when you installed the software. So you have to set up your users and prepares, and this is where you do it. This is a screen when you hit users and prepares that you'll see. Now when you hit add user, you can put in the username. I'm just going to do staff number 10. You put in a password for that user. And then what's the role? It's a staff. Now, if I just want to put prepare, because you'll notice if you put prepare, it's going to ask you for some more information, like your PTIN, your EFIN. So if you set up a prepare, it's going to ask for a little bit more information. If you put a staff, and it's just a staff member that's going to look for it, it won't ask you that information. Now, if you have a staff person that is a prepare, you can check this box, and it'll bring up the prepare settings. So you have the option to do that as well. So I'm just going to put a name here. Put an email, just any phone number, any fax, and then you hit done. Okay. User has been created. Now I've created that user. Once you're done in this and you hit cancel, you'll come up here, you'll see staff number 10. Now John Doe can log in, he's staff number 10, and he has staff permissions. Now permissions are something different. That's set up over here in security. So you go into security, you have the user roles, staff, and then the different roles for the staff. Administrator has a lot more roles. So this is where you set up in security settings what people can see and what people can't see, and that kind of thing. That's an office setup. You set up the users and prepares. I wanted to just glance at this real quick. This is a feature that will soon be available. They're working hard on it. You have the labels. I have all my sample returns in there, my default returns. Many of you will have had a default folder, so your default returns will come into in sample number 2. And then to add new labels, you just come click on that button, and you can add more labels when that's available. Updates. We have an update coming out today. It says I said do not check for updates. I'll do it manually. I hit check now. I'll go and check for updates and update my computer. So it's kind of an overview of updates and admin and invoice settings. Now I'd like to go real quick back to a return and go over some of these items up here. Where are all those buttons? Where'd they go? The federal button is now right here on the side by the forms. So to toggle between federal and state, you just click between these two buttons. So once I have Todd Anderson's return, I performed them in 2012. I can go back and forth between New York and the federal return. If I want to add another state, then that's what this plus minus button is for. So if I click on Arizona, it'll add Arizona, and I can go to Arizona. So it's a lot easier than it has been in the past to add a state. You just hit this plus minus, you add it in, and then you start working on it. That's really how the program works. We wanted to make it a little more user-friendly that way instead of the buttons up there. Now, what about the audits button? You'll notice down here you have manage diagnostics. You got red audits, I've got EIC audits, and I've got my FYI audits along with my standard audits. Now, instead of pulling the flag up here, pushing the flag for the audits are down here. That way, as I'm working in the return, and if I have anything come up as a red audit that I need to change, it's going to show me right here right away so I can take care of it right away. I don't need to wait, or I don't need to click that to take care of the audits. Now, to expand the audits, all my red audits, you can see I just pushed that little arrow, and now I can see all the audits I need to take care of in red there. There are quite a few audits on this one that I need to take care of before I can e-file the return. When you click on Go, it actually takes you to the area in the return you need to go to, just like it did before, to take care of those audits. I'm not going to take the time to do that, but just so you know, that's what that little Go button is for right there. And then so you have the earned income credit, and then you got the FYI audits right there. So that's the audits pane. Your input pane, there was a detail button up there. Where'd that detail button go? The detail button is that little arrow. There's no more right click. As I hover over these areas, see that little round arrow pop up? When I click on that, it's going to show detail statement. When I click on detail statement, it will let me put detail on the return. If I wanted to do that on anywhere in the return, I could do that. It's going to show me carryover from the asset manager. It's going to show me last year's value. The hover feature is still there. Notice I hover over. Yep, I put Anderson's name in there last year. It's going to give you, their W-2s, and you hover over amounts of W-2s. It's going to show you what was in there last year. So the hover feature still in there, just like it was before. You've also got these little quick keys. So when I click on Schedule R, that will take me right to the Schedule R, or Education. It takes me right to Education. I'm not going to do that, but that's what those are there for. You recognize that from the old program. These kind of things are still in the software. You can still access it by there. Now, we used to have two little arrows that let you go back and forth right here. Those are coming as well, so you can go back and forth. One thing I recommend is if you check here, it will show you only the returns that are only the forms that are used in the returns. So that's an easy way to navigate. The Forms pane is an easy way to navigate through the return. Just click on the form you want and then start doing it. You know, so if you want W-2, just click on that and you start doing it. If you want W-7, click on that. 1099-C. Now another thing, if I don't use this 1099-C donated car as much as I use other forms, it will slowly make its way to the bottom. This list is intuitive. The forms I use the most are going to be on the top. The forms I use the least are going to be on the bottom. So that's why there's no more Commons tab, because it's intuitive that way. And if I want to get back to General, I go to General. There's the little tabs. Now, until we get those little buttons put in, these ones, which are coming very shortly, I would recommend navigating from this area right here, the Forms pane. These forms are here to help you, so you can click on the next one and just go down the General Information screen. You know, when you click on these different forms and things, it will take you to the different areas of the forms. But right now, the easiest way to do it is there, because now I'm in the form, but it stays on General. You know, the General Info tab, but it will take me those forms so I can fill those out. And then if I want to get back to General, I just need to click on that General again, and it will take me back to the General area. So that is kind of how you navigate the return. This is your output screen. Where did Flip go? Flip used to be up here too. Where's that button? This gear right here. You click on this little gear in the corner, and you click Flip. And then it brings up the form just like it did. Tick marks, if any of you use tick marks, those are still in the program. If you don't use tick marks, you can start using those. I check that. I'm done. If that amount changes, then that's going to go put a big red X and say you need to check that out. But I'm going to say I'm done with that. If that changes, I want to know that it changed. So that's the Flip feature of the program. So you got the hover, you got the Flip, you got your summary pane. Let me look at my buttons real quick. Okay, upload, download is something that they're working on too, but a big question I get, I showed you where the Assets button was and how to get to the client, is that Review button. So people want to know, where is that review? How do I review the return? The Review button is right down here at the bottom. So if you're all done with the return, there are two things you can do. Now that you've already finished your audit, you could flip it if you wanted, and you can still flip it by right-clicking, look over the return and send it if you want this way, and when it's ready to e-file, once I take care of all those red audits, I'll have the e-file button, and I'll be able to e-file it. Or you can click this Preview Delivery button, and all of you probably recognize this screen here. So you can go to the invoice 1 or 2, you can go to page 1040, 1 or 2, or the summary. So there's a lot of things, a lot of ways you can get into it, but that is the Review button. You can print it here. To print, you just check what you want to print, and then there's this Print, Archive, Email. The sets is your distribution sets that I showed you earlier in admin. When you set up your distribution sets, that's where you'll be able to print those sets. So that's kind of a quick overview of that, of the program. And once again, you have your Clients tab there. You can get back to that. And if I click on my Home, it takes me right back to Home. And where's that e-file tab? Remember that e-file button that used to be up there? Go over here in the upper left-hand corner. You click on the wheel, and if you go to e-file center and click that button over in the that will take you to the e-file center. So you can get to the e-file center from here. And then that's where ArcWorks is as well. As a quick overview, thank you for joining me today. Appreciate your time. And if you have any questions about navigation, our account specialist can help you. We're really good with navigation questions. That number is 800-230-2322, and then you select sales and the renewal option. So when you call in, you'll have sales and renewal option. Support number 800-843-1139. If you need help with support, now they've been pretty busy lately, and we appreciate your patience with them. Thank you again for joining the webinar, and have a great day.